No one could break it. Not kings, not warriors, not even the smartest alien minds. Her body carried an ancient seal, locked so tight that even machines failed to open it. For centuries, her people tried and failed. They called it unbreakable, untouchable. But then, something impossible happened. The seal stirred the moment a human touched it. Whispers spread across the stars. Why him? Why now? She herself trembled, unsure if she should fear him or trust him. Because if the human truly held the key, the secret inside her seal could change the fate of the galaxy forever. The story began with whispers, whispers that moved across halls, markets, and even the great chambers of the alien world. They all spoke of her. She was not just another one of her kind. She carried something inside her that no one else could understand. It was not a treasure she chose. It was not even a gift. It was a seal. From the time she was young, she was told it was unbreakable. No hand, no tool, no great machine had ever opened it. The seal lived deep within her, glowing faintly, almost like a second heart. And for many cycles, her people tried everything. Scientists studied it, priests prayed to it, and rulers commanded the greatest minds to solve it. But the seal never moved. It never answered. It was like a wall that stood forever. Because of this, she grew up different. Many admired her, many feared her, but no one truly understood her. She often sat alone, asking herself why she was chosen for such a burden. Was it fate? Was it punishment? Or was there a reason still hidden in the stars? Her people called the seal sacred. Some said it was a protection, some said it was a prison, and others believed it was a test. But all of them agreed on one truth: it was unbreakable. Time passed, and the seal became more than her own secret. It became her people's obsession. Every leader who rose to power promised to unlock it. Every scholar who searched for meaning claimed they were close to finding the answer. Yet the seal remained untouched, and with every failure, her people's hope began to fade. Still, she carried it. She carried the whispers, the stares, and the silence. She carried the questions that never had answers. She carried the weight of being chosen for something she never asked for. And though she tried to remain strong, she often felt like a prisoner of destiny. Then came the day that changed everything. It was not another leader who announced a new plan. It was not a scholar claiming discovery. No, this time, the council spoke of someone strange. Someone not of their world. A human. When the word spread, many laughed. How could an outsider succeed where their greatest minds had failed? How could someone so simple, so different, possibly hold the answer? Yet others grew curious. The seal had ignored them all. Perhaps it was waiting for something else, something new. She listened to the announcement in silence, her hands tightening as if to steady herself. She did not know humans well. She had heard of them, small in number, young compared to her people, yet stubborn and always full of strange courage. Could it be true that one of them was chosen? The council prepared a meeting. She would stand before the one they called the human, and he would try where all others had failed. The chamber was filled with voices, full of doubt, full of jokes, and full of secret fear. No one believed it would work, yet none dared stop it. She stood in the center, the glow of the seal faint beneath her skin, hidden but always present. Her eyes lifted as the human entered. He did not look like a hero. He did not look like a scholar or a ruler. He was calm, his steps steady, his face carrying neither pride nor fear. The crowd whispered louder. Some mocked, some scoffed, but the human did not seem to hear. His gaze met hers, and for the first time in a long time, she felt something she could not name. He did not look at her as a puzzle. He did not look at her as a burden. He looked at her as if she was simply herself. That moment unsettled her. Could it be that he saw her beyond the seal? Or was it just her wishful thought? She turned her face slightly, not wanting him to read the uncertainty in her eyes. The council gave the command. The human stepped closer. The hall grew silent. Even the air felt heavy, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. She closed her eyes, expecting nothing, ready for another failure, ready to hear the same tired words, "It will not open." But then something happened. Something so small, yet so powerful. The moment his hand reached out, the seal responded. It pulsed. A faint glow, softer than a whisper, spread from within her. It was not painful. It was warm. It was alive. The crowd gasped, some even stepped back, as if the impossible had just touched their eyes. For the first time in all the cycles, the seal had moved. Her breath caught in her throat. She looked at him, truly looked, and saw the same surprise in his eyes. He had not forced it. He had not commanded it. The seal had answered on its own. No one spoke. No one dared break the silence. The only sound was the faint hum of the seal, rising and falling like a living voice. And in that silence, one truth began to take root. The seal was never unbreakable. It was waiting. And it was waiting for him. The chamber was still in shock. The glow had faded, but the memory of it clung to everyone like a shadow that would never leave. No one dared speak first, as if words might break the fragile mystery they had just witnessed. For generations, the seal had been silent. For lifetimes, it had resisted every hand, every tool, every attempt. Yet a single touch from the human had stirred it alive. She stood frozen at the center, her breath unsteady. For so long, she had prepared herself for endless failure. She had lived with the thought that the seal would remain locked until the end of her days. But now, for the first time, there was a crack in that belief. It had responded. It had chosen to show something. And it had done so not for her people, not for her leaders, but for the human who now stood quietly before her. The council began to murmur. Their voices carried disbelief, confusion, and even fear. Some demanded that the experiment end at once. Others whispered that perhaps the old stories had been true all along, that the seal was not meant for them, but for someone beyond their world. Yet no one stepped forward to stop the human. He said nothing, but his silence was not weakness. His silence carried weight, as though he understood that this moment was greater than himself. When his gaze met hers again, she felt that same unsettling calm she had noticed earlier. He was not there to conquer the seal. He was not there to boast. He was simply there to try. The council dismissed the gathering, their voices sharp with arguments. Some stormed out, unwilling to accept what they had seen. Others stayed behind, their eyes full of questions they dared not ask aloud. She was left standing in the center with the human, the seal quiet once more beneath her skin, as if it were listening too. Later, she was escorted to a quieter hall. The human was asked to wait, though she noticed he walked without chains, without guards pressing close. That in itself was strange. Outsiders were rarely trusted here, but already this one had been given a space of his own. She wondered if it was respect, or fear. As she sat alone, her thoughts would not rest. Why him? Why now? Was it true that her people had never been the answer? Was it true that all along, the seal had been waiting for something else, someone else? The idea both frightened and comforted her. When she was finally called again, the human was already waiting. He did not look tired. Instead, his eyes seemed curious, as if he was looking at a mystery he wanted to understand, not just a puzzle to be solved. The council demanded he try again. Their voices carried less patience now. If this was to happen, they wanted results. They wanted answers quickly. She hesitated as he stepped forward. A part of her wanted to pull away, to keep the secret hidden, to refuse what was being asked. But another part of her wanted to see what would happen if the seal responded again. So she allowed it. His hand reached out once more. The air grew tense. And then, once again, the seal pulsed faintly, like a quiet heartbeat. This time, she felt warmth spread deeper inside her, not painful, not heavy, but strangely comforting. Her eyes widened as the glow lingered longer than before, shining faintly against the dim hall. Gasps filled the chamber. The council leaned forward. One of them whispered, "It listens to him." Another shook their head, refusing to believe. But none could deny what their eyes were seeing. The human pulled his hand back slowly, as if respecting the moment, as if he knew this was not something to be rushed. She found herself staring at him, wondering what it was about him that made the seal answer. Was it his strength? No, he did not look stronger than her people. Was it his knowledge? No, he did not speak their science or their ancient texts. Then what was it? Later, when the council finally dismissed them, she walked beside the human in silence. The corridors stretched long, filled with echoes of voices arguing behind closed doors. She wanted to ask him what he had felt. She wanted to know if the seal had spoken to him in some way. But no words came. As they walked, he finally broke the silence. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "It isn't locked to keep others out," he said softly. "It feels like it's waiting to be understood." Her steps slowed. His words touched something deep inside her. Waiting to be understood. Was that what it had always been? A secret not of power, but of trust? She did not answer him. She could not. Instead, she carried his words with her as they parted for the night. Alone again, she placed her hand over the faint glow beneath her skin. For the first time, she felt less like a prisoner of the seal and more like its guardian. And yet, a single thought would not leave her mind. If the seal was waiting, then why had it chosen now? Why had it chosen him? The stars outside the chamber window shone quietly, as though they too were watching. Somewhere in their silence, an answer waited. But whether it would bring hope or danger, she could not yet know. The nights on her world were long, filled with quiet air that seemed to hum with secrets. She did not sleep much after what had happened. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt the faint warmth of the seal answering the human's touch. It had never done that before, not once in her entire life. Now it felt almost alive, like something inside her had been waiting in silence, waiting for the moment it could finally breathe. When dawn arrived, the council summoned her again. This time, the chamber was even more crowded. Leaders, scholars, guards, everyone wanted to see if the human could do again what no one else ever had. Their voices filled the air with questions and doubt. Some called it luck. Some feared it was a trick. A few even whispered that the seal was dangerous and should never be disturbed. She stood in the center once more, her heart unsteady. The human entered, calm as before, his steps carrying no sign of pride or fear. His presence was different from her people's leaders. He did not carry himself like someone seeking power. He carried himself like someone seeking truth. That difference unsettled her in ways she could not explain. The council ordered him to approach. As he stepped closer, the hall grew silent again. Everyone leaned forward, waiting to see what would happen. He raised his hand, but this time, before he touched her, he paused. His eyes met hers, and for a long moment, they only looked at each other. She felt her breath catch, because in that look, he seemed to ask her for permission. None of her people had ever done that. They had reached, demanded, commanded. But he waited. She gave the smallest nod, and only then did his hand reach forward. The moment his palm hovered close, the seal awakened. A glow spread beneath her skin, brighter than before, steady and warm. The chamber filled with gasps. The council members shifted uneasily, some rising to their feet. The seal's hum grew louder, and this time, something new happened. A faint vibration filled the air, like a voice that did not yet have words. Her eyes widened. She felt it not only inside her but around her, as if the seal's energy had spread into the very walls of the chamber. The glow brightened, and for the first time, she felt no fear. Instead, she felt curiosity. The human's expression changed. He tilted his head slightly, as though he heard something no one else could. His lips parted, but he said nothing. He only closed his eyes, listening. She could not hear what he heard. To her, the seal pulsed like a quiet drum, steady and alive. But to him, there was something more. When he opened his eyes again, there was wonder in them, but also a kind of weight, as if he carried a secret he could not yet share. The council erupted with questions. What had he felt? What had he seen? Was the seal speaking to him? He did not answer them directly. He only said, "It is not resisting. It is calling." Those words sent a wave of unease through the hall. Some refused to believe. Others grew frightened. If the seal was calling, then what was it calling for? Or who? The session ended with more arguments than answers. She was led back through the long corridors, but this time the human walked beside her. The silence between them was heavy, yet not uncomfortable. At last, she asked the question that had been burning inside her. "What did it say to you?" He looked at her, his eyes thoughtful. "Not words," he replied softly. "It felt more like a memory. A voice that has waited too long." Her steps slowed. A memory. A voice. The seal had always been a weight to her people, a mystery without a key. But if it carried memory, then perhaps it carried truth as well. Truth about the past, or truth about what was still to come. That night, she sat alone in her chamber, her hand pressed over the faint glow beneath her skin. She remembered his words again and again. A memory waiting too long. She wondered if the seal was more than a burden, more than a curse. She wondered if it was a message. Outside her window, the stars stretched endlessly. They looked calm, but she knew now that silence could hide many secrets. Somewhere beyond them, perhaps the seal's true story waited. And though she did not yet understand why, she felt that the human was the only one who would be able to uncover it. The council chambers grew restless after the third awakening of the seal. The glow had been undeniable, the reaction impossible to dismiss, and yet many of the elders refused to accept what they had witnessed. Their voices clashed like storms in the night, some filled with fear, others with envy, and still others with desperate hope. To her, the noise of their arguments felt distant, like echoes from a place she no longer belonged. All she could feel was the warmth of the seal, quiet now but alive in a way it had never been before. She remembered the human's words, not resisting, but calling. The phrase followed her wherever she went. She repeated it in her thoughts when she walked through the halls, when she sat alone, when she placed her hand gently over the faint glow beneath her skin. Was it truly calling? If so, calling to what? Or perhaps to whom? The council summoned her once more, this time behind closed doors. They questioned her endlessly. What had she felt? What had she heard? What had she seen? She told them only what was true, that the seal stirred at his presence, that it warmed instead of burned, and that it glowed longer each time he touched it. Her answers did not please them. Some accused her of hiding the truth, others warned that the human was dangerous. One voice even suggested that the seal should be sealed further, hidden away, never touched again. Yet none of them could deny the evidence of their own eyes. No alien hand had ever stirred it. The seal had waited through centuries, silent and cold. And then a human had walked into their chamber, and everything had changed. She was escorted out with no clear decision made. The leaders were too divided, their fear and pride too heavy. But as she stepped into the long corridor, she found the human waiting for her. He leaned against the stone wall, calm, as if the arguments behind the door had meant nothing to him. "They don't trust me," he said quietly, though not with anger. His voice was steady, almost gentle, like someone who had expected nothing else. "They don't trust easily," she replied. Her steps slowed as she came closer. "And they fear what they cannot control." His eyes met hers, and for a moment she felt as though he could see the weight she carried. Not just the seal, but the years of whispers, the years of being both sacred and alone. "Do you trust me?" he asked. The question caught her unprepared. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Trust was not something given lightly among her people. It was guarded, measured, earned slowly. Yet as she looked at him, she remembered the way he had paused before touching her, the way he had waited for her nod, the way he had spoken of the seal as though it were alive and not just an object to be broken. At last, she spoke softly. I don't know yet. But I want to. For the first time since she had met him, he smiled. Not in pride, not in triumph, but in quiet understanding. It was not the smile of someone who believed he had already won her trust. It was the smile of someone willing to wait for it. In the days that followed, the human was given a small chamber in the council's tower. Many objected, but none dared remove him while the seal's reaction remained unexplained. She visited him often, though she told herself it was only to understand what he had felt, what he had seen. Each time, he shared pieces of his thoughts, not in riddles, not in the grand language of leaders, but in simple words that carried meaning. He spoke of how the seal pulsed like a voice, how it felt as though it carried not just energy but memory. He spoke of how it seemed less like a lock and more like a waiting hand, reaching for someone who could finally hold it. She listened, and though she did not always understand, she felt something inside her beginning to shift. The resistance around them grew stronger. Whispers turned into sharp warnings. Guards began to follow their steps more closely. Scholars pressed to take the human away for endless tests. Some elders even suggested sending him back to his own world before the seal awakened too far. But the seal had its own will. One evening, as the chamber darkened and she sat in silence with the human beside her, the seal stirred again, without his touch. The glow rose softly beneath her skin, and the air thickened with that low hum, as though the chamber itself had joined in the awakening. She gasped, placing her hand against her chest. The warmth spread faster this time, reaching places it had never touched before. The human leaned closer, not to control it, but to listen. His eyes widened, as if he heard something in the hum that no one else could. "What is it?" she whispered. He did not answer at first. His expression grew heavier, thoughtful, as though a great weight had been placed upon him. Finally, he spoke. "It isn't just calling. It's remembering." She froze. Remembering. The word echoed in her chest. What could the seal remember? And why would it choose to share those memories only with him? That night, as the glow slowly faded, she lay awake long after the halls grew silent. The seal was changing, the human was listening, and the council was resisting. She felt caught between all three, pulled in directions she could not yet understand. But one truth had grown clear to her, even if no one else would admit it. The seal had waited for him. And if it truly remembered, then soon it would reveal what it had been holding all along. The night was quiet, yet the air felt heavy around Daniel as he stood inside the chamber where the alien seal once glowed. It no longer shone the same way. The color had changed, shifting into a soft pulse as if it was alive and breathing. Beside him, Alira looked both nervous and relieved. Her eyes carried emotions she had tried to hide for so long, but now they slipped through in every glance she gave him. Daniel reached his hand toward the seal, and it reacted instantly. The patterns bent around his fingers like water flowing around a stone. Alira whispered, almost to herself, "No one has ever touched it like that. Not even my people." Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with something deeper. He turned to her, unsure of what to say. "Then why me?" Alira stepped closer, the faint light of the seal painting her face in shades of blue. "Because you are not bound by the rules of my kind. You are different." She paused, searching for words. The seal does not see strength or power. It responds to something else. And somehow, it found that in you. Daniel felt a strange connection building between them, as though the seal wasn't just unlocking a hidden chamber, but something within both of them. The longer he stood there, the stronger the pull became, like invisible threads drawing him deeper into the mystery. Suddenly, the chamber shifted. The walls around them began to hum, and hidden doors started to appear in the stone. Alira gasped, stepping back. "It's opening pathways that were closed for centuries, but only for you." Daniel glanced at her. "What's behind them?" Her silence gave him the answer. She didn't know. Yet her expression revealed both fear and hope. For her people, this was forbidden knowledge, lost long ago. For Daniel, it was uncharted ground waiting to be discovered. As they entered the first newly revealed passage, the air grew warmer. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly as if welcoming him. Daniel could feel the pulse of the seal in his chest, like a second heartbeat guiding him forward. Alira walked close beside him, her hands trembling slightly. She was trying to hide it, but Daniel noticed. He finally asked, "You've waited all your life for this, haven't you?" Her lips pressed into a thin line before she nodded. "I was told the seal was impossible to break. That no one should try. But I could not stop dreaming of it. And now, here you are." There was something fragile in her words, like the fear of losing everything she had ever hoped for. Daniel felt it too, though he didn't say it out loud. The connection between them was growing stronger with every step. They reached a wide hall, where at the center stood a stone platform. On it lay an object wrapped in glowing threads of energy. The seal's light from before now gathered here, converging on that one point. Daniel stepped forward, but Alira grabbed his arm. "Wait. If you touch it, there's no turning back." He looked at her, his voice calm but steady. "Then maybe this is what I was meant to find." Her grip loosened, though her eyes never left his face. There was trust in her gaze, though it was mixed with worry. Slowly, Daniel reached out. The glowing threads parted, bending around his hand like they had around his fingers before. As his palm brushed against the object, the hall filled with a low sound, like 1,000 voices whispering in unison. The glow wrapped around him, lifting him off the ground for a moment. Alira's heart raced as she watched, torn between fear and awe. When Daniel's feet touched the ground again, the object had vanished. But in its place, a mark had appeared on his arm, glowing faintly with the same symbols they had seen on the walls. Alira stepped forward slowly. "It chose you," she whispered, almost in disbelief. "You carry the key now. But the question is, what door will it open next?" Daniel looked at the mark, feeling the strange warmth it carried. He didn't know the answer, but deep inside, he understood one thing. His journey was only beginning, and Alira would be at the center of it. The air was quiet after the seal dissolved, leaving behind a space filled with strange light. Everyone stood still, waiting for something to happen. The human, Daniel, felt the weight of the moment but also the soft pull of something greater, like the seal had not just unlocked a door but opened a path into something unknown. The alien girl, Alira, turned her eyes toward him, her expression unreadable but her heart unsteady. For so long she believed the seal was eternal, but now, standing with Daniel, she wondered if its breaking was not an end but a beginning. From the space beyond the seal, shapes began to move. They were not enemies nor friends, but silent watchers, beings tied to the seal's creation. Their forms shimmered like mist, both present and fading at the same time. They did not speak with words, but Daniel felt their thoughts pressing into his mind. The seal was never meant to hold you away forever. It was meant to wait for the one who carried the right spirit. Alira took a step closer to him. "They mean you," she whispered softly. Her voice trembled with both fear and hope. She realized that Daniel was not just a human who stumbled into their world, he was the reason the seal broke. He was the piece of the puzzle no one ever expected. Daniel, though unsure, stood tall. "If I was meant to open it," he said quietly, "then maybe I was meant to walk through it too." His words carried more weight than he knew. The beings of light shifted aside, revealing a deep glow, like a second world hidden inside the broken chamber. A soft wind flowed from it, carrying voices of old songs, promises, and truths that had been waiting for centuries. Alira reached out, her hand brushing Daniel's. "If you go, I go too," she said, and for the first time, her eyes showed no doubt. Together, they stepped beyond the broken seal. What lay ahead was not danger but destiny, an endless field of stars, a place where the stories of both human and alien would now be written together. And as the seal closed behind them, its purpose finally fulfilled, the watchers whispered their final words. The unbreakable was broken not by force, but by trust. And now, the two shall carry what even time cannot erase. Daniel glanced at Alira, and she gave a small smile, one that said more than words ever could. In that moment, Both knew the seal's true gift was not the world it unlocked, but the bond it created between them.